You want it's my turn, right? I'm sorry. I'm slacking. Hey guys, it's Josh and Mom back again. We
Yep.
are on episode number three,
Four.
four, introduction, episode three, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, we're coming to you again today. We're doing a Zoom once again because Joshua is still in LA and I am up here in Seattle. Um, so yeah, so we I'm gonna try to stay looking at everybody here because my camera's in a weird spot. But yeah, anyway, we wanted to keep it light today, and it's been two episodes of some really real talk conversations. And so we thought we would keep this one a little bit more light and fun and talk about something that hopefully interests everybody, which is music.
Yes, yes.
So, yeah, so music is something that Josh and I both share in common that we really love and has been a big part of who we are as people. And just our lives in general. And so we thought we would share and talk about music and how powerful music is and how much it has the ability to connect and it can, change moods and it's so universal and every culture and everyone in the world can relate to music. So it's really such a cool unifying thing. So anyway, we kind of talked a little bit about what we would share and talk about today. So I'll start by asking Josh, and then I'll answer the same question.
And
Which was
also,
oh go
real quick.
yeah
Also, I was gonna say, if you're watching this video right now, obviously my camera quality is dog shit again, so I apologize for that. And the audio quality, I mean, it's not top tier quite yet. So I
no
just wanted to give you guys a heads up that I come back from LA this next week. We are going to get all of that situated so that everything is top tier quality and
yeah
it will not always be like this. It just bothers me.
no
I don't know if it bothers you guys, but it bothers me. So I figured I'd bring it up real quick.
Yeah, we've
Alright.
been experimenting with how to do this. A lot of our episodes, Joshua and I will be most likely in separate locations between my traveling for my job and him coming and going and when we bring on guests. So we're still working out the fine details of it all. So hang in there with us. We promise it will get better. We promise.
All right.
But anyway,
Back to it.
all right, back to music. So I guess Josh and I were talking, and I'll ask you, Josh, this first question, which is when did you first realize, or how far back does it go for you? Do you recall being um, like music becoming a really big part of your life? Like where you realized you had a love for music and it actually was something significant to you?
Yeah. I think, and I kind of mentioned it to you, but I think the first real time I realized I was kind of like passionate about music and was like, oh, this is like cool. Like, I enjoy this is because of my older sister, Addie. Shout out you
Mhm.
guys. Um,
Yeah.
her and her friends, like being in the car with her or her friends, or when we were in the car, and she always had, a huge passion for music and finding, hidden talent and hidden gems. I remember her finding Mac Miller and Kanye and like all these artists that like, weren't
Macklemore.
necessarily, yeah, Macklemore that weren't necessarily big at the time, but like I was like, yo, this is cool. Like, especially I'll say Mac Miller. Like Mac Miller is one of those guys, RIP, that like when I heard her play him for the first time, I was like, yo, this is like dope. Like I remember listening to his music in the car and like singing along. And I would say that was like probably around the first time I would say like this was between the ages of like I want to say like 9 and 11, 8 and
Mm.
11, like somewhere around there that I can like vividly remember kind of being in the car. Um
Yeah, so that's about right. Addie always was playing music,
Hmm.
and I love music, and she was always diving into the newest things, and music was definitely always going in the car when you guys were growing up, for sure.
I definitely, I will say, I have a very vivid memory of actually being in the car with Addie, going to Woodinville High School for a lacrosse game because of
Hmm.
Allie Ford, um,
Yeah,
who was a
yeah.
good friend of hers, and they were totally just jamming out in the car, music blaring. I want to say definitely like 11 at the time. She was probably like
Okay.
17. And
Okay, so she was driving. She had her license.
yes, and
Yeah.
I
Okay.
remember just like it
Uh,
was so exciting. I was like, "What is going on?" Like, but then at the same time, I was like, "These girls are fucking crazy." Like, just because you know how girls are when they listen to music in the car, and guys do it too, but they be like screaming and like dancing in the car, and
oh yeah, for sure.
but that was,
Yeah.
I remember that, and I was like, music is so cool. Like, it just brings out a different energy and like atmosphere. And I don't know. I love.
Yeah. Oh, it absolutely has such a really big impact in the ability to like shift a mood or set a tone. Yeah, like it really is one of those things.
And
That's
the
pretty universal.
variety. I mean, the variety, depending on what genres you're listening to, like how it can
Yeah,
completely like shift the energy in the room, or like,
definitely.
um, that's really cool. So,
Yeah. So I'll share mine and then I'll also
right,
ask you if you remember, which I'm sure you will, but um so the earliest I remember, well, one, I remember I was probably about 2.5, believe it or not. And my mom used to play this song all the time. And it has forever stuck with me in my brain. And it's Sailing by Christopher Cross, I think is who it was. But I can literally remember that song going all the way back to being about 2.5, which is pretty crazy that a song, when you're that little, could like stick in your brain and cement in so many memories.
right.
Um, but personally, I think when I first experienced music in a way that was transformative to me as a person, I too was around the same age. I was 11, and my grandparents lived in Victoria, my biological dad's parents. And so I used to go up to Victoria a lot and spend time with them. And my grandpa Jerry, who you never really got to meet, I don't think, because he passed away when you guys were pretty little.
Uh-huh.
He used to sit. So my dad had a couple stepsisters who at the time um, were like 19, 20, 21, like right at that age or just right around there. And they were so cool in my brain. Like they were just like the coolest people.
Yeah.
And I remember being at their house in Victoria, and my Aunt Maria and my Aunt Christine, and they were getting ready, and my Uncle Steve, they were all getting ready to go see U2, Joshua Tree, 1987, playing in Vancouver, Canada. And they were playing the music in the house. And I remember hearing that album and literally feeling like a part of me was like in that music. And my grandpa, one of my favorite memories is my grandpa used to sit in the living room with them and he would say, "Come in here." And they would go in and he'd say, play me whatever the kids are listening to these days." That's what he would say. And he had this ability to sit and listen to all the different types of music, whatever was on. And so music was a huge part of that experience of being at my grandparents and those guys. But I just remember U2, that album, just obviously sitting with me in a way, which, Jesh, remember when you guys were little and
Uh,
I would ask you, one of their songs would come on, and I had taught you guys like within the first 10 bars of the song, you'd be able to tell me who it was. I'd go, "Who is this?" And you guys would listen and you'd be like, "U2." And I was like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that was, I mean, that was really like that vivid memory stands out to me.
Well,
Um,
let me ask you something. When did you guys start bringing us? Because you took us to a few good concerts when we were
we
young.
did. Yeah.
Coldplay,
Yeah, we did.
Kings of Leon, like so on.
Yep.
But how old were we at that time? Do you remember how old I
I
was?
so I think the first concert we took you guys to was Coldplay at the
Yeah,
Gorge.
I think
Does
so.
that sound about right?
Yeah,
Yeah, Viva La
and
Vida tour.
I think
Yeah.
I was
So
a little younger than even when I was talking about. Was I?
y- you were, I think you were maybe 8, Josh,
Okay.
because it was that first swim meet. We would go to the swim
Yep.
meet in Moses Lake.
So that was
And
yeah.
yeah, 8,
That
and
was
Jada would have
the
been 7,
mhm.
and Addie was 15. So you might have been 9 or right in that neighborhood, 8 or 9 at the most.
I was gonna say that was another, like, period that, like, I remember, like, music really having, like, a profound, like, impact on me because I don't know if you remember, but, like, I would swim and I would just have, like, Viva La Vida,
Yes.
like, stuck in my head and, like, I felt, like, free, like, I'd be in the pool and the music just took me away from everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, you had that one Coldplay song from the Viva La Vida or Viva La Vida, yeah,
mhm.
album that you told me you would hear in your head when you were swimming and like warming up. So yeah, I mean it was definitely like settling in.
What's the song? I wanna remember now.
Um we'll have to like
I think
look
it
it
might
up.
have even been Viva La Vida.
I think it is. I,
I'm
I
pretty
should
sure it
like
is.
I think I should pop on this computer and like check it out, but and see maybe if you can, are you looking it up on your phone?
Lovers in Japan,
Yes.
great song. That was
Yeah.
I think that was it.
Okay, so I have another funny story about that. Let me make this computer sleep. Sorry, guys.
Man, I remember when they featured and did the collaboration with Jay-Z,
Oh yeah.
Lost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was I remember that song very well too. But
So Jess, do you remember us taking you to Kings of Leon then the next year at the Gorge?
yeah, and I got secondhand high. That was the first time
So
I experienced.
yeah, so for all you parents out there, I dare you to beat this parenting story. We the next year went back to Moses Lake for the swim meet, and Jess and Jada were swimming in it. And that year, the concert that lined up with the time we were there was Kings of Leon, and I love Kings of Leon. I think they're fantastic, but I had never been to one of their concerts, and I certainly didn't consider the crowd. And so we piled in with the general, admission crowd, and I cannot tell you how much weed was being smoked because it was more than I think has probably ever been smoked anywhere else. Maybe outside of a Snoop concert.
I mean,
That's
well,
probably the closest.
yeah.
But the funny thing about the whole deal was that we basically had to ask security to like get us out of the space and try to get us some fresh air because Joshua and Jada both got their first secondhand high because it was that bad. And we learned something about them at that moment. Josh was on the ground, sick as a dog, like hating his life, being high, and Jada, our youngest, was laying on a rock staring at the sky, like having the time of her absolute life. So,
It's funny how that
do
works.
you remember that?
Yep. It's funny how that works.
Yeah, it was definitely. And then we finally bailed. We left the concert because it was chaos, and there was so many people that were high and drunk. And I remember leaving, and your dad and I were just cracking up, and we were like, worst parent move ever, like taking your taking your 8, 9 year old kids or whatever you guys were at that point, right around there to a Kings of Leon concert um, at the Gorge.
Good
So
times, good times.
good times, yeah, good
Um,
times.
so how do you I wanna ask you, how do you think, music has had, like, an impact on your life? Like,
Hmm.
overall, like, I mean, obviously, like, I could have asked you, like, something simple. I was thinking, like, your favorite genre or this and that. I think I'm pretty familiar with, like, the type of music you like and, like,
Yeah,
obviously you already shared, like, U2 is clearly your favorite band,
yeah,
um, but I wanna
yeah.
know kinda how music has impacted you on a personal level over the years.
Yeah, I mean, so I grew up in a cult that we weren't supposed to be listening to non-Christian music. So luckily, shout out to my mom and dad for not being like super crazy. Um, I did get to listen to non-Christian music, but it definitely wasn't something that was talked about as being a good thing. But I think for me, where my music journey started and to this day, U2 has always been that thing that I feel like they write the words that I can't say. And as I've gotten older, I've learned, I just watched them, and nobody's seen it, they were honored in December at the Kennedy Center, um, awards, and there was a whole like tribute to them and everything. But I just watched that the other night, and you know, the thing about music to me is that it it would say the things that I felt inside that I didn't feel like I could say out loud. A lot of U2's music has this deep, um, resonating about searching for spirituality, searching for purpose in this life. What are we doing here?
Mhm.
And what is this all about? And that came out so much in that music that it it just connected to me in a way that it was always my searching music. It was what I would listen to when I felt lost. It was what I would listen to driving in the car when I wanted to just think about all the things that had happened in life. And as music has evolved, I there's a ton of different music that I like and love, but I'm always searching for that same thing in music, which is what is the message? What is it speaking? How is it resonating with where I'm at and what point in life I am? And sometimes that's been a really positive thing. And sometimes we've talked about this when you were growing up. If
Uh-huh.
you're in a bad place, music can absolutely make it worse. Like you
100%.
can definitely like obsess over some music that can take you into some very negative places. That's how impactful it can be.
Well, I'll talk about that a little bit, actually.
Yeah, do.
That
Yeah.
was, a huge piece of my young adult life, and, like, I've always enjoyed and loved all sorts of music, as you know. Like, I'll
Mhm.
listen to anything from, you know, old school, like, 40s, 70s, 80s to, 90s hip hop, early
Mhm.
2000s to current day hip hop, pop,
I
country,
think you get that from me, by the way. You
yeah,
guys have
all
been
sorts of
exposed to
stuff,
all the music.
everything. And I have a lot of love for a lot of different types of music. Um, but obviously in high school, I was drawn very towards, especially in, as I've mentioned in a little bit of like the previous podcasts, I guess like a little bit of my troubled phase. Um, and I was, running with different crowds and, making a lot of poor choices just out of anger and frustration and so on. But I remember like, certain types of music I was listening to, a lot of like inner city hip hop and rap and like stuff that was really just kind of preaching like negativity and
Mhm.
violence, different stuff that was, just speaking down on women and different
Yeah.
different things like that. I remember like specifically at one conversation we've had was like some of the music I was listening to was affecting the way I was treating the women in my life, and, uh,
Definitely.
even the women not necessarily in my life, but just women in general, and not really, like, recognizing the, like, impact when you are, like I mean, not 24 hours a day because you gotta sleep, but 12 hours a day listening throughout, like, to, the same kinda stuff that's just talking about, fuck bitches, all
Yeah.
sorts of garbage that
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I listen to hip hop all the time still. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Well,
still
I do
music
too.
I listen to that, but I'm definitely not as intrigued by certain stuff, that played such a negative role in my
Yeah. Well,
moving on.
I think yeah, I think what you kind of came to understand, and I think if people are open to recognizing how influential music actually is. I mean, it really is influential. It's why it's such a big thing. But if you're open to understanding how music influences you in your day in and day out, you started coming to terms with that it was having this very big impact on just how you viewed women in general and as a like just as a whole, and that was spilling into how you were relating, even though you didn't want to be disrespectful towards women, you didn't want to hate women or devalue them. That constant barrage of that kind of um, information and talk and uh, it just you're taking it in on a subconscious level whether you realize you are or not.
Yeah.
And we used to say that, remember, you'd put music on in the car and I'd be like, is it respectful to women?
Yeah.
Turn it off.
Especially, yeah, that was, oh my god. I
That
remember
would be,
that. And I'd have to be like, if I wanted to be on aux, I had to be like paying close attention to what songs I was playing and like what order the shuffling was going.
absolutely.
Yeah, because that was a big deal at one point. I mean, that was
Yeah, it was.
like I was definitely out of pocket, and that
Yeah.
music had a large impact and effect on the way I viewed women for sure. I mean, even beyond that, like listen to certain music puts you in a certain mindset. You listen
Yeah.
to music that's like, about drilling and all sorts of shit, you're gonna want to go drill some shit. You know what that means?
I can assume. We'll just,
Yeah, I mean,
we don't just
like go hit a lick or go do
Google.
something that's like, yeah, all
I'm
right,
just
yeah,
gonna say,
Google it. That's fine
for those of you listening, I'm giving you a warning. If you Google that, I can't tell you what you'll find, but it's
Honestly,
not positive.
you might be able to. Yeah, just Google drill. Like
No,
doing a drill or like going on
don't do it. Don't do it. I was saying don't
a.
Google.
Anyways, that was definitely. I remember like early on, like I was probably like in elementary school listening to certain music, like whether it was Kanye, like Kanye had this
Yeah.
one song, Monster. I remember it. Like this one, bitch, I'm a monster, no good blood sucker, fat motherfucker. Now look who's in trouble as I run. You hated it though. You were like,
Oh
this shit
God.
it was vulgar at the time. Like it was all,
Yeah.
and I was like, at the time, I just wanted to listen to it. I was like, this is hype, yo. And you're like, turn that shit off, like going off on me
I think I think I've said to you to turn that shit off more than anybody else.
for sure, for sure.
Definitely.
And
Yeah, but I think you and I have also had some of the most fun moments listening to music. Like how about rap lyrics with mom?
yeah, right. I was gonna bring that up, but that's something I still want to do. I want to do that on my
Yeah.
YouTube channel. But
Yeah.
anyways, like having mom, and we were doing this before. This is actually something that's pretty common now. Like people are doing
Is
that.
it?
Like, yeah, people are doing that with their parents, their grandparents.
Oh man, we
But
missed it. We were doing it
I feel
first.
like it's always been that way. I always have these trends in mind or these things to do, and then like somebody else ends up doing it, and then
Yeah,
it's like investing in Tesla before Tesla or investing in Microsoft before Microsoft.
right.
It
Well, I'll tell you how I remember
sucks.
it. So we used to have this car because I love telling stories. So I'll inject this story. We had this car that was basically a tin can. It was a Chevy Aveo, 4 door. Um, it was all manual. manual like windows that you had to roll down, like old school style. And when gas was the last time gas, we had a Durango and it was at like over $5. And I was putting $100 in like every 4 days. And we didn't have the money for that. So we went down to the auto auction and bought this car like on the minute because it had great gas mileage. Well, we drove that car for a really long time, a very long time. So we would drive around in that car, and Joshua would play music for me, and he would play like a clip from a rap song, and he'd be like, okay, tell me what lyrics you heard. And so then I would try to describe the song according to what I heard. I would, say like, okay, so they're talking about this. And then I heard him say that. And I was always way off. But we would laugh and laugh and laugh.
I would ask you like what certain terms meant or like
Yeah. Well, like you just did.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff in those songs that you had no clue what the fuck they meant. But
No,
okay,
for
it's
sure.
okay.
And the Aveo was the most uncool car to be like blasting, like
It was a little clown car. That's what it was.
for sure. Yeah.
I mean, that was good times for sure. I want to actually still do that with you. So
Yeah, we should.
we'll have to
Well,
do
we
that.
should do one of those for this. We'll have to do an episode of the pod where we do that,
I think
and it'll be fun.
I think music has so much value though. Like obviously like, like had a lot of like underprivileged friends as well and stuff that have grown up in certain areas and like music definitely like for anybody has a, value and meaning behind it. Like I think I was drawn towards like hip hop and rap and stuff just because of like beyond the songs that were really like, you know, just bullshit, partying, whatever, promoting like, all this stuff. Like there's a lot of songs out there that it's poetry. It's,
Yeah,
speaking about life experience and just what they've been through or whoever, like it's for all music, but I was always
yeah,
drawn to that. Like, find that very fascinating. People sharing their experiences in music and their lives and stories. It's
yeah.
a beautiful thing. So
It is. I mean, I think that's the thing about music and why it has such staying power, generation after generation. The lyrical context changes. The style and types of music to some degree can change and cycle through.
it's ever
But
evolving.
yeah, but what it really always has done, whether it goes all the way back to, to Bach and, the orchestras and, all these different types of styles of music, is that it again, it's one of those things like I was mentioning last week, it evokes this deep emotion and it connects you to parts of yourself, but it also connects you to other people. Because when somebody writes lyrics and sings a song that they're speaking of an experience they've had, or they're speaking of, something that matters to them and it resonates with you, you instantly have a connection with that person, whether you've met them or not met them. If you don't know them, whether you've lived the same experience, you could be from completely different sides of the world and planet, from different growing up, and you have a connection immediately with the people that resonates with. And that's that universal place that music holds that I think is so incredible. And there's not, I don't know, maybe there is. I'm trying to think of it right now, but I don't know, is there really anything else in life that is that universally connecting than music? I mean, think
Religion,
about that for a minute. It
religion.
feels like that could be like the most universal
I would
means of
say
connection.
yeah, I would definitely say so. I would say outside of that, maybe I said it, but religion, maybe.
Yeah, you think? Because
But
I mean, I
well,
feel
I'm
like
saying it 'cause
religion can be so like actually counter
it
connecting.
definitely creates like diversity, but at the same time, like with certain religions, like I do think they have like some form of like you can go to a lot of places and like it brings some sort of
Yeah, yeah, I see what you're
connection
saying.
and like like if you're a Muslim and you like move to the US from, out of country and you meet somebody else who's a Muslim, like you
Right.
automatically have like some sense of like connection and like, you know,
Yeah, that's true.
so I would
But I
say
think
like,
what's
but
so
outside of
cool,
that, like music for sure.
yeah, because what's so cool about music is that you could be a Christian and an atheist and love the same song,
For sure.
and it connects you even in your differences,
For sure. No, that's true.
which which
But
is
I could
pretty
challenge you to
cool.
say that you could be a fan of country and a fan of hip hop and you could be both Christians. No,
Yeah, yes, that's
okay.
true.
I'm just
And
playing with you a little.
you could be a fan of country and
I'm
hate
playing
rap.
devil's advocate right now.
Yeah, but you could be a fan of country and hate rap and love rap and hate country. But what you still have in common is that you love music.
It's true. Okay, okay, that's true. There you go. Okay, okay.
Different types, but you still love music.
It's still music. That's fair.
Still music. Yeah.
But then
I
I
don't
guess you could
know.
say you could love God, but you could be, you know, you
This
could
is
be
rabbit
Muslim
holing.
and you could be a Christian and you still love God. No, I'm just kidding. Um,
Yeah, we gotta leave that out of it.
we're
Uh,
going down a rabbit hole, and
we are totally rabbit
we got
holing
about
now.
6 minutes left. But uh,
Okay.
I figured we'd touch on like because obviously I think we were wanting to bring on our next guest being Brennan. Um,
Yeah, that's kind of what
my
we're hoping to
brother,
slate.
my brother Brennan, and this last year and a half, whatever, has been like kind of a roller coaster for us. Obviously, he's been in the music industry and working on what he's doing. Um, very talented. Has always had that passion for music. That's something that we've always connected about though. I remember like even just in high school or like post high school, like sit in the car and you listen to a song, you smoke some weed, whatever, and like you can connect and relate on the song, discuss it, talk about your thoughts and like, you know,
Yeah.
the production of it, like the lyrics, like what you interpret them as, so on. But we've obviously been on a journey of trying to figure out like where music fits in our life. And I've been pursuing different things, but I definitely like want some sort of involvement, which is obviously where
Yeah.
like that side of things has led into me like wanting to manage artists and work with artists, and that's where I feel like I best fit when it comes to that. Um, what do
Yeah.
what do you think about it though?
About say that about music?
About, well, about like working with artists, managing artists,
Oh,
working in.
yeah. I mean, I think, it's interesting because anytime somebody has a passion for music more than just enjoying listening to music, I feel like you have to kind of find an outlet for that. Whether that's that you learned, to play an instrument and you get involved, or you gig, on the side as just a hobby, or you try to make a run at it and be involved in the industry in a deeper level. And your older sister Addie really loved doing writing and music review, and that was something she really tried and was passionate about, and she was doing that when she was 12 years old, like super into it. And you've always had that same thing where you're very into music and you really enjoy it, and you spend a lot of time listening to different types of music. And I think it's a natural expression of something that has mattered to you to want to be involved. So I love what you guys are doing. I mean, how far you take it and how, what it does in the end, that's to be left for them. That's unseen at this point. But the fact that you're engaging in something that matters to you and that you have a dream and a vision for, if you aren't doing that, like what are you doing in life? You could wake up and work a job every day of your life till the day you die and never fulfill any of those kind of dreams or visions. And it doesn't mean that, or passions, it doesn't mean that you have to do it forever. It might be a season of your life, but you should absolutely like go after it.
I'm not
You
working.
know, that should.
I'm not working no 9 to fucking 5. I will never. I will never bow down. I will never.
Well,
No, no,
you
no,
know,
no, 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 no. There's
no,
no,
I'm not saying
no,
anything.
nothing.
I'm not saying anything.
I'm not.
I'm saying
I
you
will not
come from stock that doesn't love a 9 to 5. So it's
fucking 9 to.
fair that you would not want to go there.
Listen, I'm not trying to knock anybody else that works a 9 to 5 or
No, not at all.
that's just not for me. And I will never concede. If I gotta work a part-time job because everything goes to shit for a period of time while I sort things out again, then all right, so be it. But I'm not conceding to go work no corporate job for somebody else that's making 100 times what I'm making off of my work. Like, fuck that.
Yeah,
I'm
that's fair.
I'm gonna
I
make it.
mean, find your passion, find your road, and don't let it go. Keep going for it. I'm gonna say this before we wrap up this whole deal. Um, Only because Josh and I have talked about doing this podcast for so long, and we have no idea where this is gonna go, but we're sure having a good time doing it. I'm having a good time.
I could care less if this goes nowhere. I mean, this is
Yeah, exactly.
something we wanted to
But
do.
it's been fun. And we've really loved that there's a group of you that have been coming along and listening and being on this journey. And I hope that we can continue to entertain you and that you are enjoying it. And that as we start to bring on guests, you'll find it, fascinating and interesting to listen to. I'm going to say this before we wrap up. If somehow down the road, Joshua and I become famous, and anybody ever passes this episode on to YouTube, it's the only person, the only band, the only celebrities in my entire life that I would bawl my eyes out and want to meet. So I'm putting that out there. Maybe someone hears this at some point. Maybe you hook me up so I can at least just be in their presence for a moment and cry and tell them how much it shaped my life.
Yeah,
But I'm putting it
beautiful.
out there.
That's a
I'm putting it
beautiful
out.
fangirl moment right there. Beautiful fangirl moment.
It's the only girl moment you'll ever see from me. Unless it's Ryan Gosling. Unless Ryan Gosling shows up.
If we get this podcast to a point and we get famous or whatever, I'm sure we can find a way to make that happen. But
I don't know. It's a dream. I'm just putting my dream out there.
put that energy out there. That's what it's all about. So, but I think that's it for this
That's
week.
it.
We appreciate you guys once again for tuning in.
Yeah.
If you listened all the way through, thank you.
You're a super fan if you
You're-
listened all the way through.
If you're a super fan, go ahead and drop a like, follow,
Yeah.
subscribe,
Comment.
drop a comment. Yeah, if you guys want to hear certain topics, let us know what you want to hear about.
Yes.
And yeah, so
And that's it.
again, and we will see you next week.
Peace.
Boom.